When I graduated from college, I had a Bachelor's of Arts in journalism and digital media. I believed I would have a job lined up after I graduated from college. I had 2 solid years interning with Jeremy Jericho from Eden City News. 2 years of minimum wage work dealing with everything from troubleshooting loose wires to getting coffee for everyone in the office. The moment I graduated, I put in my application for a journalist job. I knew it was open. I was told to post the listing online myself. I believed I had enough skills to be irreplaceable. Even Mr. Jericho wrote me a glowing letter of recommendation. The same day I put in that application, I was fired. Apparently, I was no longer a good fit for the company. So I put in my application and resume for every other news company in Eden City. I figured they'd be dying for journalists that knew about modern media and how to report with them. I was so wrong. I sent out over 100 applications in those 2 weeks. I didn't so much as get a response. My parents were out of the picture, and my career advisor, who hadn't had to look for a job in 30 years, recommended calling every place I applied and asking if they got my resume. Needless to say, I didn't follow his recommendation. So, after those 2 weeks, I just started submitting applications to anywhere that had openings. I watched as my classmates got high paying jobs with advanced firms or Agamemnon's Academy. I was desperate, but not desperate enough to apply for Agamemnon's. Once you worked there, you only worked there, or you didn't work at all. It was a lot like being branded on your face. You would never lose that mark, so if you were going to do it, you better be certain. I even applied to work as a moderator for Share My Day. All turned down. Eventually, though, I got lucky. My rent was due in just a week, and one of the job search websites turned up a brand new result. A video rental shop in Pearl District that was only 2 blocks from the Iron District. It was far from ideal. My college was in Pearl, of course, but I was hoping to move permanently to the Garden District. Still, though, it was a lot better than working in a steel mill or, God forbid, a coke factory. The health risks nearly guaranteed I would be dead before I had a chance to save money. But luckily, this rental shop looked like it was going to be my stepping stone to a better place. The starting wage was 20 centi an hour, and they needed someone working full time. I had no idea how a video rental shop stayed relevant, nor solvent, in Eden City, of all places, but I was glad to have the chance. I fired off my application, and in less than an hour, I had a phone call. Hello, is this Jairo Henry? My name is Regina Reagan. I'm the owner of Regina's Rentals. Is now a good time to talk? She asked me. I turned to my bowl of dry ramen since I hadn't even put the water in it. I put the bowl down and responded, I am Jairo, and yeah, I'm free to talk, I told her, and her tone changed as she went into interview mode. Perfect. Can you tell me a bit about yourself? Well, I graduated from Eden City College about 3 weeks ago, and I spent 2 years working as Jeremy Jericho's assistant. So I have experience in working with people. I got a degree in journalism and digital media, so I am pretty sure I can help people find the movies they are looking for. I am patient and passionate, and I just need a chance to prove myself, I told her, hoping I didn't sound desperate. I could hear her writing as she went into her next question. So the job comes with some odd shifts. I will need someone who can work the night shift, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., Friday to Tuesday. Since it is a night shift, I will come with a 2 centi raise for those hours. Would those be hours you're willing to work? Yeah, it is fine. I can work those hours, I answered honestly. I was more of a night owl than anything, so this would be a lot easier to adjust to than a typical 9 to 5. But honestly, even if she said it was 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., I probably would have said yes just to have the job. Perfect. Now, the job will have some rules that are very important to follow. Not every rule will be obvious why we have them, but it is crucial that they are all followed to the best of your ability. I will do my best to clarify on why we do what we need to do, but it won't always be possible. Is that all right? Yeah, I'm really good with rules. Journalism has quite a few of them, and all of them have to be followed. I told her, and I heard a click in her voice, like I did something wrong. So, some areas of the shop are private areas, like my office, and some rooms have to be private for guests for personal viewing sessions. Do you think you can respect those boundaries? She asked. I immediately answered in the affirmative. I didn't want her thinking I was going to go off where I wasn't supposed to. And honestly, I don't want to see what they are watching. Excellent. So now I have a few more questions for you, and it's very important that you answer them honestly. Sure. Okay. Does the black moon howl? I don't know. I don't think so. Is that a movie? Do you have any connections with a detective by the name Red Prince? No, never heard of him before. Okay, interesting. Are you now or have you ever been a member of the Hunters Guild? Hunters Guild? No, I've not been a member of any guild. I tried joining the Journalist Guild when I worked with Jericho, but I never got a response, so I'm assuming that's a no. Sorry to hear that. Do you have any associates in the MSU? MSU? No, I've not heard of that college before. I have a few associates who went to Eden City College, ECC. If you need a recommendation from someone with a college education, I offered it to her. I heard her writing something down. That won't be necessary. My final question. Would you be free to come in tonight? We kinda need the coverage immediately, and out of all the applicants today, you're the only one who has the necessary background knowledge for this job. Sure. I quickly grabbed a pen and paper as she gave me the address and the time she wanted me to show up. I also made sure to have my ID on hand. The store was only a few blocks away, so I took the walk. The shop was still lit up next to many shops that were closed down and abandoned looking, even covered with black paper on the inside to keep people from looking inside of it. And in front of Regina's Rentals, I could see a homeless man sleeping in front of the window. Tin cup was in front of him, and I dropped a centi inside of the cup as I went inside the store. I was expecting a cramped store, maybe a few shelves of outdated movies and flickering fluorescent light bulbs above. What I found inside was a much larger store that was built behind all of the storefronts on the block. There were rows upon rows of tapes, discs, and even vinyl records. In the back, I could see stairs leading both up and down, implying additional floors. There was even a hallway leading to the back, where I presumed was the manager's office and the private theaters. I approached the desk where an older woman sat reading from a large tome laid out on the desk. Hello, I'm Hiro Henry. Are you Miss Reagan? The woman looked up from behind her spectacles and she smiled. You can just call me Regina. Now, let's get you started. She tossed me an extra large black shirt with Regina's Rentals on it. Bathrooms are over there. Get the shirt on and get back here. We will fill out some forms and I will explain your role here, she said. I quickly changed my shirt and came back to the desk where she had me fill out the government forms. And when that was done, she pulled out the list of rules and responsibilities as she explained them. We don't get a lot of business late at night. In fact, most weeknights we get no business at all between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. However, we will still get people dropping off rentals, and of course, it's better just to have someone here in case there's a late night rental emergency. And of course, stalking is important. She walked up and down the sections as she explained how they work. They're organized by media, then genre, and then finally alphabetically by name. And as you can see, they're all marked on the spine, similar to how a library works. There's sections in the basement and in the floor above. If you get those rentals deposited, just rewind them if needed and set them aside. I will take care of them myself. You'll know if it's non-standard media because it won't have a title, only a number. She showed me a black digital versatile disc case that only had a serial number on it. If a customer wants to rent it, scan it and then charge them the rate. If they have to ask what's in the case, then they cannot rent it. Scan it and tell them that it's on hold for someone else. But otherwise, just scan it and tell them the rental rate. We accept coins and checks. We don't accept anything else, Regina explained, leading me back to the register as she showed me how to use it and how to change the movies on the screens throughout the store. Here is a list of your responsibilities. As long as they get done, I don't care what you do with the rest of your time. Play on your phone, watch a movie. Hell, have a friend over. I don't care. But get your job done. The night shift isn't hard, but it's important, Regina told me before I nodded in the affirmative and she left, leaving me with the list of rules and responsibilities that I read over. Rule 1. You are allowed up to 3 boxes of candy at night without charge. Any more, you will have to pay for it. If you get thirsty, use the soda fountain in the break room. Rule number 2. When on break of any kind, restroom, lunch, mandatory, or even smoke break, flip the sign from open to on break. If you don't, someone may try to get in. Rule number 3. Any tapes received in return are to be rewound. Digital versatile discs, records, and flash drives do not need to be rewound. Do not attempt to rewind them. That last rule had the feeling of someone trying to do that and had to be taught the hard way. Rule number 4. The homeless man who sleeps in front of the store is called Oberon. Do not call him by his name. Try to avoid addressing him if at all possible. If he comes in to use the restroom, wash up, or buy candy, let him. If he tries to talk to you, hear it, but do not listen. Be polite. Do not be kind. He knows what he did. Rule number 5. There are 4 television screens on the main floor. All of them are to show a different movie on loop. If you want to change them, you are welcome to, but don't take longer than 5 minutes. Rule number 6. There is a television screen in the break room. Do not watch anything on that screen. If you see the screen on, please turn it off as soon as you are aware of it. Rule number 7. In the event of an attempted robbery, please push the panic button on the bottom of the desk. Give them whatever they want. The money and the media is insured. You're not. Rule number 8. Don't trust nobody. Rule number 9. Connect to the Wi-Fi labeled Vanth. Don't connect to Regina's Rentals Wi-Fi. That's not our Wi-Fi name. Rule number 10. There's a plate of candy in the break room. At midnight, dump it into the trash can and open a brand new box of candy and put it on the plate. Don't eat it, but leave it in the break room. Rule number 11. You may see a skull in the shop. That is normal. If you see a skull, please move it somewhere else. It's an ongoing joke between the day shift and the night shift. Rule number 12. The point of sale system will show the name of any media we have. If someone is asking for a media we don't have on the POS, then we don't have it. If someone tries to rent a media that isn't on our POS, let them take it for free. Better them than you. Rule number 13. There are doors in the store marked off limits. Don't go in. Those doors are unlocked, but if you go into any of them, you will be fired. I processed the rules and shrugged. So far, it wasn't anything too odd. I knew a lot of places like this had odd rules, but if it was a joke, then I would play along. Nothing seemed heinous nor dangerous, so I went to work rewinding the tapes that came into the Dropbox. After that, I swept the shop with a broom that I found in the closet, and I found the skull. It was peeking out from between two audiobook cassettes, the Atlas of Apocalypse and the Atlas of Armageddon. Those sounded really cool, but I let out a gasp when I saw the skull, and then I laughed a little. It was a skull without a lower jaw, but still it looked like it was made of plastic. I picked up the skull and glanced into the dark sockets. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, Horatio, a fellow of infinite jest, I said before giggling to myself as I moved the skull to the top of one of the TVs that was showing a black and white horror movie from the 2700s. It felt fitting, and honestly, it just lit up the room a bit better with the post All Saints Hallow Eve vibe. I went back to my counter and sat on the chair while I scrolled through Share My Day. Everything was going so well. Hours passed, old Oberon came in a few times to use the bathroom, and each time it looked like he wanted to say something to me, but his shoulders deflated when he saw me on my phone. He didn't even bother to say hi to me. When it was break time, I made sure to flip the open sign to on break, locking the door while I was at it. The rules didn't say to lock the door, but it made sense not to let anyone inside. I went to the break room. It had a fridge, soda fountain, microwave, small table with chairs, and a TV in the corner, which was on. I walked over and turned it off. Once it was off, I went to the soda fountain and filled a cup for myself. Once my break was over, I dumped the candy on the plate into the trash, and then opened a fresh box of gummy isopods to put on the plate. I also grabbed a box of Jawbreakers for myself as I made my way back to the front. Once there, I flipped the sign around and unlocked the door, and went back to my phone while I looked through Share My Day. I saw my old roommate talking about his brand new life of success from buying Fakecoin, and now how he was working for Eden City News as their new digital journalist. The very job I applied for and posted, now it was all his. I sighed and I quickly looked up what Fakecoin was worth. It was a cryptocurrency that was introduced less than a month ago, but already early investors were now multi-millionaires. When my roommate recommended I invest in it, when it was still a denarii per Fakecoin, I told him it felt like another bubble and it was going to be a disaster. Well, now his 3 Fey coin were worth over 300 million centi in just 3 weeks. If I bought even one, then I wouldn't be here. I would be in a lot better place. I shifted back to share my day to look at some videos to cheer myself up when I heard a familiar bell of the door opening. I glanced up expecting to see old Oberon entering the store again, but instead I saw someone else. A tall white man in a trench coat and dark fedora. He had a scraggly beard underneath his hat, and even from where I sat, I could smell whiskey on him. Despite the smell, though, his eyes were as sharp as a falcon's and just as focused as he looked me over and then the selection. Welcome to Regina's Rentals. My name is Hyro, and how can I help you, Mr. I trailed off, giving him a chance to give me his name. He glanced my way as he spoke in a voice that sounded like he smoked in his spare time. I'm nobody special. Pleased to meet you. I will be looking for a noir film, and that is all I need. You don't need to do anything for me, Mr. Henry, he said as he browsed the noir films before choosing something, as he kept browsing. While the strange man kept browsing, Oberon came in also. He made his way to the back of the store like he was going to the bathroom, but I could see he was staring daggers at the strange man, who stared back. They clearly had history, and I was just hoping it didn't erupt into a fight. But still, I watched the tension build until finally the man in the hat approached the counter and laid out 2 video home system tapes and a box of chocolate buttons. Just these tonight, please, he said, laying them in front of me. I watched Oberon bulldog him down in the back while I scanned the tapes and candy. That will be 21 centi, please, I told him, as I watched him remove a flash drive from his pocket. I'm afraid I lack both coin and check tonight, but I have Fey coin on me. If you wish to accept the Fey coin and cover my cost in your centi, please. I stared at the man for a moment, about to tell him to get out, but something in his eyes told me he wasn't lying. They were as hard as steel, but they weren't dishonest. I glanced at the flash drive again. Do you mind if I check to make sure the fake coin is on there? I asked the mysterious stranger, who nodded in response. I grabbed the flash drive and put it in a laptop that was just behind the counter. Sure enough, the laptop verified there were 3 fake coin on the flash drive. It only asked for my name to claim. I turned back to the man and asked, why would you give me 3 fake coin for just 2 movies and a box of candies? Surely they're worth more than that. I am far wealthier than even those 3 fake coin provide. For someone like me, 3 fake coin doesn't qualify as pocket change. You seem to be a good man, so I just want to do a kindness for you, if you're clever enough to take it, he said with a smile. Or if you prefer, I can put the movies back, put the candy back, and walk out of here with my Fey coin. I can come back at a later date when I convert digital currency to physical currency. His smile turned to a smirk, and I could see Oberon's face in the back turn red. I don't know why he was so fascinated. Maybe he thought I was going to share some of my new wealth with him. I didn't say that. But why does it need my name? I asked him, pointing at the screen. The exchange needs a name to work, but I guess you can use any name, but whose ever name you put in there will own the fake coin, so think it through, but do we have a deal? He asked with a smirk. Finally, Oberon spoke up. Don't make the deal. Remember the rules. He's going to take so much more than you know. Are you implying I'm a scammer? No, but I know what the cost is for doing business for you. I think I am being very clear on what my cost is, but Oberon, be silent, the man said, which shut up the homeless man. His face was still red and he looked like he wanted to keep talking, but his tears silently fell off his face and his mouth was screwed shut. Do we have a deal, Hyro Henry? The man asked as I thought it through. Let me make sure I have 21 centi first, I told him as I opened my coin purse. Sure enough, I had 21 copper coins. Exactly 21. Such an odd coincidence. 21 centi. I guess we have a deal, I said, reaching across the counter, only for my coin purse to suddenly drop. I watched as the coins scattered across the ground. Ah, Tavit, give me a moment to find them, I told him, as I could tell he was losing patience when his lower jaw stuck out and he sighed while I was on my hands and knees looking for the copper coins. Eventually, I picked up 20 of them, but no matter what I did, I couldn't find the last coin. I came back up and showed him the coins. Sorry, sir, I only found 20. Maybe you can put the candy back? I offered, but he sighed and put one of the tapes down. I would prefer to just leave with just a movie and a candy box, if that's all right. But otherwise, our deal stands. I nodded and removed the movie and charged him the 1 centi. Once I deposited the coins, I reached across and shook his hand. I felt something scratch my palm and I pulled it back to see that it was scraped. Oh, I'm so sorry, but money mends all wounds. If I was you, I would sell the fake coin tonight, he said with a wink and tipped his hat to me as he walked out into the night. What an odd man, I said as I saw Oberon disappear into the bathroom, his sobs audible even from where I was. He must have had some kind of mental health issues he wasn't getting treated. Still, though, I made my way to the flash drive and entered my name into the box, asking for my name. With an enter, there was a whoosh noise on the laptop and I could see the details of the fake coin. I did own 3, and it gave me the value of the coins. A little over 100 million centi each, and it looked like they were slowly growing tonight. I removed the flash drive and tucked it away while I went on with my night. After about an hour in the bathroom, Oberon left the bathroom and walked in front of my counter, his red eyes pleading. You don't know what you gave up. You won't win this. Nobody is unbeatable. I know how I look, but I was once the Emperor of the Middle Kingdom. I founded Newtown and found immortality in it, but nobody took my name as the price. In time, I lost everything else. Money, power, even my place in history. Here I am, a beggar in Eden City, when centuries before I flew with dragons over the clouds. Your fall will be just as hard. There's a lot below rock bottom, and you will fall on every rock all the way down, he warned me. I kept staring at my phone, careful not to look up at my phone. Pretend to ignore me all you want. Pretty soon you will be begging not to be ignored also, Oberon said as he left the shop, while I continued scrolling. You had to ignore crazy. Engaging with it only made it worse. At least that was what I was told. When the morning came, Regina relieved me and told me I was free to come back tonight. She gave me my first paycheck and I made my way to the bank. But when I made it to the teller machine, it glitched out when I entered my PIN. After 3 attempts, it displayed an error message telling me to try a teller. But unfortunately, no bank was open at 6 a.m., so I tried calling my bank's 24-hour customer service line. I told the sweet woman named Sarah what was happening, and she listened. After explaining it, she told me she could help me. All she needed was my name. I opened my mouth to tell her, and nothing came out. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that? She said. I opened my mouth to say my name, except I no longer remembered it. Try as I couldn't recall it. I'm sorry, I don't remember, I told Sarah, and her tone switched from sweet to customer service. I'm sorry about the inconvenience, sir, but I will need a name to help you with your account. When you figure out your name, you're welcome to call us back. There was a click, and she hung up on me. Now, in a panic, I checked my wallet for my ID, the same ID I gave Regina for all my forms. It was blank. No name, no picture. It was a laminated card with no information. I tried my phone's personal information to see if my name was there. No name, no address, just a phone number, and my picture was missing. Now, in a panic, I sat down on the curb and tried to think about what to do. Home. I had to go home. Surely there were answers there. At least I could sleep, and maybe this entire nightmare would be over. Even though my address was missing, I still remembered where I lived. I walked to the apartment building and checked my buzzer. Sadly, my name was scraped away. I tried my key on the gate, only for it not to work. I tried a few more times before I gave up and pressed the buzzer for my apartment. I figured my roommate would answer. He worked early mornings, and although he wouldn't be happy, he would let me in. What I didn't expect was to hear a familiar voice. Hello there. How can I help you? The voice of nobody came through. I gasped and asked, What are you doing in my apartment? I heard a chuckle and he responded, I'm afraid the apartment is in my name. If I was you, I would turn around. No solicitors are allowed, and if I hear you buzz here again, I am calling the police. There was a click as he put the receiver down, and I was left outside with nowhere to go. I wandered the city for hours after that. I called everyone in my contact list. No one recognized me. Not my parents, not my friends, not my former colleagues, no one. Eventually, I made my way to a public library and I borrowed a computer and I checked on the flash drive again. I figured if I was going to be stuck with nothing, I could at least cash out the Fae coin so I could restart my life over. But when I checked the Fae coin, my heart sank. No, 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 I said when I saw what happened to the value of Faecoin. It crashed overnight. Now each Faecoin was only worth 7 centi each, leaving me with only 21 centi, the exact cost of what he wanted last night. I didn't have my name, I had no wealth, no resources, nothing. I thought about cashing it out there, but I decided against it. Maybe the value would go up in the future. No one else left to turn to, and with nothing to lose, I turned to one last person. I explained my situation to Regina before my shift. She listened intently, and unlike everyone else, she remembered me from the night before, even if she didn't remember my name. When I was done explaining, she nodded and took the check back that she wrote for me just earlier that day. I'm sorry to hear about your situation. This is why we have the rules, and now you will have to live with the consequences. But I sympathize with your situation, so tell you what, there is a small apartment upstairs in the shop. It isn't fancy, but it will do. As long as you work for me, you can stay there. I will pay you in coin and take your rent from your payments. I want you to remember to follow all the rules. It can get a lot worse, and you can stay here as long as you work for me, Regina said with a dark twinkle in her eye. And I have been working for Regina's Rentals for over 4 years now. A third of my paychecks go into the rent, and it has gone from stepping stone to end of my line. I tried everything I could to outsmart the curse or whatever this is. I tried giving myself a new name legally, but every application fails before I get past the first step. I tried giving myself a nickname, but then no one would remember it. Not even me. I tried writing it down, but the markings are unreadable to everyone and anyone, even myself. My name tag is perpetually blank, only marking me as a cashier. I tried looking myself up in government records. Nothing. I tried even getting arrested so I could make myself a John Doe or something. But no matter what crime I commit, I am let out the next day. I have shoplifted out of a store, gotten arrested when people noticed, so I'm not invisible, but I am always let out before my shift at the store begins. And even if I steal, it never lasts. I once stole someone's wallet, and by the time I went back to the store with it, the wallet was empty. It certainly wasn't empty when I stole it, but by the time it was in the store, it was empty before the wallet itself disappeared when I wasn't looking at it. I have even learned the hard way even more serious crimes have no more impact, and they too fade. One night when I felt like everything was pointless, I stole a car. Just walked up to it while the person was loading groceries into the back of it. I drove the damn car into a wall. Knocked me out, but when I woke up, I was lying on the ground. No damage to the wall, no damage to me, and the car was back where it was. No one cared about it because the nobody was knocked out in front of the wall. So thievery became pointless since anything I stole simply returned. I tried making friends with anyone other than Oberon or Regina, and they don't remember me. They forget I was ever there the next time I see them. I went to the same coffee shop for 4 years, every day. They don't remember me nor my order. No familiarity in their eyes. I make up a different name for the order each time, and by the time they call it out, they just call the drink out with no name on it. They never notice it, and I don't think they ever will. The closest thing I have to a name now is my title, cashier. That's what my name tag marks me as, and it's how everyone addresses me at Regina's Rentals. Even Regina and Oberon address me as cashier. I have become nobody special in this world, and the curse doesn't merely affect people. I made graffiti on the building across the street last month. Something massive that was meant to draw attention. Flames, skulls, and gore. I spent hours working on it. It all disappeared before the dawn came. No one even got a chance to see it, and I've not aged since the day I made the deal. My hair and nails don't grow, my face doesn't change, and my health hasn't changed. I haven't gotten sick once. I haven't had so much as a headache. Even time isn't noticing me, and diseases don't care about me. I asked Oberon about it. He told me that my name has been removed from the ledger of death and the ledger of time, so neither have any sway over me. He has been in the same state for centuries, but he was once a powerful royal. When he lost his name, it took a long time for anyone to notice, because no one was supposed to call the emperor by name. In time, though, no one recognized him, and he was simply forgotten in history. His achievements attributed to different emperors and warlords who lived before and after him. So he had a long time with the limits of everything. Apparently, the reason why Regina and I can call him Oberon is because he doesn't know what we call him. If he knew the name, we would forget it, and he couldn't hear what nobody called him, but it still had power over him. But still, the ledgers of death and time make way too much sense now. Death and time have no sway over me. However, I have no sway over them either. I learned that one the hard way. One hard night, I thought that maybe I would be rid of my curse if Regina was dead. She hardly struggled as I stabbed the knife through her neck. I chopped her body into pieces and scattered them across the city. I dragged her body past sleeping Oberon, and he didn't even notice. I figured I would finally do something that would make an impact. At the end of my shift, she was there to relieve me, not even aware of what I did, but her blood on my clothes are still there. They won't wash out. They remain fresh on my clothes, and I can smell it on myself. Again, no one notices it, but I do. I I don't get it. The consequences of all of my other crimes were simply erased. I I don't get why the blood remains. It's still warm, and the smell clings to me, and it won't let me forget what I did, not even for a moment. I'm I'm scared to ask Oberon, and I feel like I'm in hell. I now have one of the greatest abilities in the history of the world: immunity to death, entropy, time, and consequence. And no one will ever spare me a thought. And why should they? I am now stuck working in a video rental shop for the rest of eternity, and no way to undo the curse. But I may have found a way to make a lasting impact. Just a few nights ago, I was scrolling through Share My Day, when I saw anonymous confessions. So I made my own. No one knows I exist. And that post stayed. My posts normally disappear within a day. No views, no likes, and no history. But when I made an anonymous post, it remained. However this curse works, it doesn't erase my impact when it's meant to be done anonymously. Having no name doesn't matter in a format where no one has a name. So I tried other anonymous posts and questions, and sure enough, they all have an impact and they last. At last, a way to communicate and maybe get things through. But the question is how? I could leave an anonymous tip to the Vigiles, but they wouldn't care, nor do I think they can do anything about it. I asked Oberon about it, but he doesn't know anyone who can help, nor even want to help. Supposedly, he once knew people beyond the Veil, but they were all too smart to deal with nobody special. Fortunately, scrolling through Share My Day, I found an old classmate. A quiet kid once upon a time, but they were the only ones in my entire class to graduate with a journalism degree and still be a journalist. They will occasionally publish articles by anonymous sources. So I am now writing this story and submitting it to the Seven Cities Journalist. I don't know if the name I provided for myself in the beginning was actually my name or if it was just something I made up. But I wanted something for myself to cling on to. I know this is a long shot. I don't know if there's too much information or not enough, but if you know anyone who can help, please do so. I have tried everything I can think of. Maybe there's someone out there who can help. I am nobody special, but I still believe there has to be a way to help me so I can be somebody again. Signed, Anonymous. Note from Seven Cities Journalist. I don't know anyone named Hyro Henry back in my college days. That being said, I didn't memorize everyone's name, but with this article's connection to Nobody Special, I am forwarding the information to Marceline Pierce.